We say goodbye to a couple of legends. Mike Cagley, did you shed some tears when you heard that Hulk Hogan was no longer walking on this earth?
Well, he was a mixed emotion guy because some of the things that came out on that video that he said were not good from a racial standpoint, and that's an understatement. But if you are a fan of professional wrestling, it would not be what it is today without Hulk Hogan. You wouldn't have The Rock, you wouldn't have John Cena, etc. So he definitely was a trailblazer, and it's hard to put him into perspective because there was a point in the '80s where probably only Michael Jordan and Mike Tyson were more famous than Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, the Hulkster was special. I mean, I remember coming home. Was it like you'd get the late night matches on NBC, and you could get home
Saturday night.
on Saturday night, and that was like cool. Whether it was Hulk Hogan and Paul Orndorff or somebody on Saturday night, good stuff.
Yeah, I love the one best was when the honky tonk man was beating the snot out of Macho Man, and Miss Elizabeth went back in the back and got Hulk Hogan to save, and that was great for Hogan because then he's just used his ability to insert himself in yet another thing on TV, so he's on TV even more often. But it was entertaining.
Yeah, and then Monday night, by the way, my former Turner Sports colleague, David Aldridge, I thought summed up Hulk Hogan very well. If you're on Facebook, take a look at that. And I thought it was very well done. And then comes Monday, Ryne Sandberg. You talk about just a legend when you get somebody who obviously we know he's a Cubs legend, Hall of Famer, 10-time All-Star, league MVP. I saw somewhere that only he and Ken Griffey were like both home run derby champs, silver sluggers, and all-star. It was some crazy stat that only he and King Griffey Jr. ever did it. But look at the tributes this week that came out from literally there were other teams, not the Cubs, who were doing tributes. I mean, it was just you talk about we never know our legacy until we're gone. But his legacy is among those. I'm not sure I've seen anything quite like this in terms of somebody who was really truly respected across the board.
Yeah, he's special. I mean, he was that guy who he was Mr. I know Ernie Banks was always Mr. Cub, right? But Ryne Sandberg was Mr. Cub, the next Mr. Cub, I guess. And even as the Cubs won the World Series, those guys are special to them. I think Rhino was even though they didn't win the World Series, he's the guy, right? I mean, he's a guy that because he was a Cub for life. And just a fantastic player. He reminds me, like, if you're a Cardinal fan, he's like the Albert Pujols of that era, right? I mean, he's the guy, even Yachty or somebody like that. He's synonymous with the Cubs, and he was a great guy. Like, people who met him off the field, always cordial, just a great person too.
I put him and Dale Murphy in a special category because they were on super stations, and so I grew, you watch those guys play for 2, 3, 4 years. And while I was not a Cubs fan by any stretch, being a Cardinals guy, you had to like Ryne Sandberg. And even when he beat the Cardinals in that amazing, you were like, okay, it's Rhino. That's fine. But across America, Dale Murphy and Ryne Sandberg played on teams that weren't always good, but they were.
Yeah, no question. When Ryne Sandberg got to the Cubs in 1982, they hadn't been to the playoffs in 37 years, but yet 2 seasons later, 1984, he's a league MVP, and the Cubs finally won the division, finally get to the playoffs. And then Bill Buckner said, no, we don't think so. So anyway, I'm sorry, not Buckner, Leon Durham in that one. But anyway, yeah, it's amazing just the legacy that he left behind. Again, about a year and a half ago, diagnosed with metastatic prostate cancer. They threw everything at it, thought he was cleared. It turned out that it had spread other organs and finally took him at age 65. So we leave you with rest in peace, Rhino. And for all the men out there, please go get tested. Talk to your doctor. In some cases, it's just a blood draw. You don't have to go sing Moon River if you're a fan of Fletch. Hey, we'll leave it there. It's been a great time as always, and we appreciate you. Enjoy this weekend. Enjoy the games if you're watching them, and we'll see you next week. Same time.